Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. Welcome to Guitars and Gear First Look. I'm joined today by John Levy from Premier Guitar Magazine, publisher of Premier Guitar. John, thanks for coming in. We're glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
And I'm also joined by Don Carr, session musician here at Sweetwater, session guitarist and content creator. And we're going to be checking out 9 incredible new guitar-related products. We've got guitars, amplifiers, pedals, recording devices, lots of great stuff to check out. Don and I had a chance to sit down with the Hughes & Kettner Grandmeister Deluxe 40. That's an amazing amplifier that's incredibly feature-laden. We had a lot of fun putting this amp through its paces.
Yeah, we sure did. It is really versatile.
Built-in effects, 4 different voices.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely stunning.
I know, iOS control. It's huge sounding, plus you've got a huge variety of different tones.
Absolutely. Let's check out the video. We're checking out the Grandmeister Deluxe 40, a new amplifier from Hughes & Kettner. Now this is a 40-watt amplifier that has a ton of features. It's super versatile and offers you a lot of tonal flexibility. The Grandmeister Deluxe 40 is an EL84 based amplifier. It has 4 EL84 power tubes, and there are 4 different voices: clean, crunch, lead, and ultra, as well as a boost function. So you have everything from pristine clean sounds to super saturated high gain tones. The Grandmeister Deluxe 40 includes built-in effects. We have modulation effects, chorus, phaser, flanger, tremolo, vibe, lots of different possibilities there. We also have a built-in delay as well as a built-in reverb, and those are 3 independent effects. Now the amplifier supports up to 100 different presets internally. You can store all the effect settings, the gain settings, the EQ settings. Basically all the settings in the amp except the master volume control are saved into presets. You can access those presets using an optional foot pedal, or you can connect an iPad via Wi-Fi and access all the settings in the amplifier, all the controls as well as all the presets. Let's take a quick tour of the front panel and check out how this amplifier works. Beginning on the far right, we have our voicing setting: clean, crunch, lead, and ultra, as well as a switch for engaging the boost function. Next up, we have our gain control, the channel volume control, which allows you to balance the level of the different presets, 3-band EQ, bass, mid, treble, master reverb control, and master resonance and presence controls. Switches allow us to engage the effects loop on the back panel, as well as the built-in noise gate. We can store presets by simply hitting the Store button. We access the effects parameters by pushing the Effects Access button, and now the knobs here switch to where they're controlling the different parameters for the effects. So for example, the treble control now controls the delay level. The mid control is feedback, and bass is delay time. Our modulation effects are controlled here on the gain and volume controls. The back panel is also loaded with features. We have our effects loop in and out, we have a line output, we have a control for the noise gate, and then we have our red box. Now the red box is a cabinet emulating output that allows you to feed directly into a DAW via an audio interface, or you could plug it straight into a mixing console when you're playing live. That allows you to use the Grandmeister Deluxe 40 without miking up the cabinet and getting the authentic sound of the amplifier still running through a speaker. The red box allows us several different selections, so you can choose different cabinet types and match the sound to the tone that you're creating. The Grandmeister Deluxe 40 also features Hughes & Kettner's proprietary TSC, or tube safety control. Now this is a feature that basically optimizes the performances of your tubes at all times. We have MIDI input and output for control, and that's where we hook up our wireless receiver for connecting an iPad, or where you hook up the foot pedal if you're using that as an optional control over the presets. Finally, the Grandmeister Deluxe 40 has a built-in attenuator that allows you to switch the power output from 40 watts to 20 watts, 5 watts, 1 watt, and even to turn the power amp off completely for silent recording or silent practice. So as you can see, this is a feature-laden amplifier that'll work well in a wide variety of situations, whether you're practicing at home, in rehearsal, on stage, or in the studio. With those 4 voices, the EQ control, and the built-in effects, it's a self-contained package that allows you to create all your tones right in one box. But of course, the main feature of the Grandmeister Deluxe 40 is how awesome it sounds. There's a ton of different tones here. I've got my iPad connected as well as a foot pedal, so we can step through the presets and check out some of those tones. Awesome. So Don, that's basically a preset that we created.
Right.
I started out with just the crunch channel with no effects, added in some delay, some reverb. There's no modulation in this particular one. And we've got the gain set for just a mild amount of breakup.
Yeah, it sounds great. It's really responsive, and the fact that it's an all analog signal path really, I mean, it's really obvious.
Right, right. And we're running through a Hughes & Kettner 2x12 cabinet. We should be sure to mention that.
Yeah.
And I believe that has vintage 30 speakers in there. Don, that's a big, thick, rich tone.
Boy, it sure is, man. It's just huge on the bottom end, a lot of articulation on the top, tons of gain, but it's still really clear sounding.
Absolutely. Let's check out a clean sound. That sounds like a different amplifier. Bright, snappy, I mean, that's a chicken picking sound right there.
Yeah,
a little bit of delay, a little reverb.
Exactly, man. It's got, again, it's still really punchy and really present, though. And that's what's great about all the different voices is that they really stand out.
Right. Of course, the thing we haven't listened to yet is Ultra, the super gain channel. So let's pull up a preset for that. Wow, that is absolutely huge sounding.
It really is. And again, think back about the other amp sounds that we've heard. I mean, completely different.
Right, and being able to go from that ultra gain tone to a clean tone to a blues tone to a crunchy rock tone. So much versatility with this amplifier.
Yeah, with effects as well. I mean, instantly switchable.
And speaking of, let's listen to some presets that have more effects on them. Here's a nice chorus patch. Here's one with tremolo. And the cool thing is, using my iPad, or by reaching up and grabbing the knobs on the amplifier, I can adjust those effects while Don's playing. Here's a funky phaser tone. I've called up a metal lead style preset that has a ton of delay on it. There are several different ways we can set the delay time in a patch like this. First of all, you can reach up and control it right from the front panel of the amplifier. Second, we have a corresponding delay time knob in the app running on an iPad. Or you can use the tap tempo function inside the app, or if you have the optional foot switch, there's a tap tempo button there as well. Operating the amplifier from the front panel is obviously the easiest way to go. And if you just need to access presets, using the foot pedal is a great way to go because you can step on that while you're playing. But if you want to have total control as well as work with your preset library, having the app for your iPad is a great way to go. You've got all the controls for the amplifier arrayed right in front of you. You can call up different presets, build up a whole library of those. You can even access the attenuator, the master resonance and presence controls, as well as the whole preset library. I think you get the idea here. There are a ton of different sounds in this amplifier, and they're uniformly really great. Everything from sparkling cleans to snappy chicken pickin' tones, add a little bit of delay on top of that, a little bit of reverb. We've got jazzy tones, you can get crunch rock tones, bluesy leads, bluesy rhythms, or if you're into metal, there's super high gain available here as well. And we haven't even engaged the boost function yet, which takes it way over the top. All of these tones that you've been listening to Don demonstrate are being recorded with a microphone on the 2x12 cabinet. At the intro to this video, as well as in the outro to this video, Don recorded directly using the red box, so he was going directly into his audio interface for those tracks. So Don, thanks so much for taking a look at this amplifier with me. The playing was great as always.
Oh, thanks, Mitch. Appreciate it, man. Great sounding amp, really is.
It really is something. One package, throw it under your arm and off you go. You're ready for the gig.
Yeah, easy enough, man.
Absolutely. Check this amplifier out. It's the Grandmeister Deluxe 40 from Hughes & Kettner.
Holy smokes. Looked like you guys had some fun there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Don was playing great.
Oh, thanks, man. Absolutely. But it's a great sounding amp. How easy is it, right, when it sounds great?
I gotta say, the tonal variations going from super clean, chicken pickin' to ultra chief of beef, you looked like you were viscerally having a great time with it.
Yeah, it certainly was. Again, just easy to play when it sounds that good and responds that well.
Tell me, the ability to go ahead and change the presets using an iPad, as a gigging guy who's worked in concert environments, how valuable is that going to be to you?
Oh, man, amazing, because you can get away from the amp and listen to it and make real-time adjustments as you're away from it. I mean, think about it. If you're in a club, you can literally get off the stage and listen to, okay, how much of this is actually coming off of the stage, or what does it sound like in context with the rest of the band? Or even if you're in a larger venue, like a theater arena or something, you can get back, listen to it in context, make
no
real-time
guesswork,
changes.
you can just basically back up and hear how the audience is going to hear it.
Exactly, as opposed to doing that and then running back on stage and going, wait a minute, let me turn the bass control down. You know, it's way easier to do it on the iPad.
Were you using just the red box output?
Just the red box output.
As an engineer?
Yeah, it
A
sounds
maestro
great.
of engineering.
Yeah,
How
it's
useful is that?
Well, you heard in the video there, we had the microphone on when we were doing just the different sound demonstrations. But the recordings that Don did, all those different layers were done with the red box. I think it sounds great. You'd never say, that doesn't sound like a microphone.
And it sounds like the amp as well. You know, that's the other thing. I mean, it's like, I'm assuming, you know, since we used a Hughes and Kettner cabinet as well, that, you know, they are, you know, that's what they're referencing through as well when they're creating the, you know, the models for the red box. And so there you go. I mean, that's why it's going to sound, you're going to have a nice, consistent sound.
Right. And I think a feature we shouldn't overlook is the power attenuator. Being able to set that to 5 watts when you're practicing at home, but even more important, being able to turn off the power output completely. So if you're in a worship situation where you have a silent stage, if you're in the studio, if you're on a stage where you're using in-ears and you want to control that stage volume, being able to turn that speaker off is really an important feature.
Right. Well, and think about this too. If you've got presets, right, you know, you can just instantly go back and hit the 5 watt. You know, if you got to be in a really quiet situation, you got to be in a really loud situation, just go back and hit the 40 watt switch.
Sure. Or you can set the headroom for the power amp.
Yeah.
So for your clean sounds, you can run it at 40 watts, and per preset, you can select that.
Yep.
So you could actually turn that headroom down to, say, 20 watts for a saturated sound, and take advantage of the power amp distortion as well.
I got to weigh in here, and seeing it's a beautiful product to begin with. It's amazingly compact. This much power, this much flexibility in a great-looking and compact package. Seems like it would appeal to the kind of reader that, say, PG attracts, where these are guys who are gigging. They want to have something, at least in a lot of cases, where they take one guitar, one amp, and they're set.
Sure. It even comes in a gig bag.
Hey, what's not to love about something that portable, powerful, and flexible?
You're absolutely right, John. This is a perfect amp for a gigging musician, or a session musician for that matter. So I had a chance to sit down with the Guild Bluesbird. Now this is a reissue of a guitar that Guild made in the 1970s, and they've added some modern enhancements that really make it an incredible instrument at an amazing price point. Let's check out the video. Today we're checking out the Guild Bluesbird. Now this is a reissue of a 1970s guitar from Guild with some modern appointments. We have a mahogany back and a mahogany neck. Now that back is chambered, which gives us extra resonance as well as lighter weight. The Bluesbird features a carved maple top, which gives us extra brightness and snap on the top end. It really helps with the articulation. With the Antique Sunburst and the Iced Tea Burst, you get a figured maple top and a standard maple top with a black finish. We have a rosewood fingerboard, and helping out with tuning stability and accuracy are Grover tuners. To help increase sustain and for maximum tone transfer, we have a Tone Pros Tune-o-matic locking bridge. We have separate volume and tone controls for each pickup, and the pickups are both Seymour Duncans. In the bridge we have a JB, and in the neck we have a 59. Now this gives us a fat, fairly high output bridge pickup for nice leads and for crunchy rhythms. Then we've got an open, brighter sounding neck pickup that really chimes well when you're playing with clean tones and yet remains articulate when we add some distortion. So let me give you an idea of what the guitar sounds like. I've got a clean tone set up on my Friedman Runt 50 amplifier. We're running through a 4x12 cabinet. Here's our clean bridge. You can hear that's a thick, round, full sound coming from the bridge pickup. It's really driving the amp nicely, yet it remains bright and articulate on top. Now we'll switch to the neck pickup. That tone balances really well with the JB in the bridge. It opens up a little bit in the mid-range, so there's no congestion on the bottom end. We have a nice articulate bell-like top end, and with a little less output, it remains clear even when we're playing with high distortion. When we combine the two pickups together, the mid-range hollows out as you'd expect, so you get a nice, open, snappy top end. Now let's dial up some distortion. Here's our bridge pickup. That JB really punches through with a thick, full sound, yet we can dial it back to clean things up. When we switch to the neck pickup, we get a singing round tone for solos. Combining the two pickups together opens up our mid-range and gives us plenty of top end. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the Gill Bluesbird. This is a great guitar for those traditional vintage style tones. They've really returned to their classic design here, yet with those modern enhancements like the Grover tuners and the Tone Pros bridge, you have a great, highly playable guitar that's also very affordable. Thanks for watching. So John, you're holding the Bluesbird here. What do you think?
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah?
First of all, it's amazingly light. That chambered body really pays dividends in the comfort level when you're holding it. Like I say, that the neck feels, it's just got a really good, solid feel, comfortable C shape. And just, I don't know if you can even capture it quite with the camera, but this is a really handsome looking top as well. Just a great looking guitar.
It's a beautiful guitar, and you're right, that neck shape is really comfortable. It's not too chunky, but it's not too slim either, so you can wrap your hand around it, really get a good grip when you're doing bends or rhythm parts. And that chambering makes the guitar, as you mentioned, very resonant, and I love feeling a guitar that rings against my body when I'm playing it.
And not to admit that I'm too much of a retro guy, but I gotta tell you, these knobs, who doesn't love a retro knob, man?
Right, those knobs are killer, man.
And the beads here for going ahead and knowing exactly where you are on the around. It's a great looking guitar. Offers a lot for the money. As a player, and again, you've done some 3-set gigs where having a couple of few ounces really makes a big difference over the course of the night.
Yeah, a lighter guitar that still sustains and still has that fat tone is really important when you're doing a long gig. But Don, we were talking about earlier, in addition to that, the flexibility of these pickups.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. The JB59 is such a great combination. I mean, the JB in the bridge, nice and chunky, you know, really drives the amp, but not too much though. You know, not to where it's a one-trick pony. You know, you can still soften it up a little bit, clean it up, and you know, the clarity of the 59 in the neck is great. And then of course, having the combination of them and then being able to blend them with the volume and tone controls.
Sure, it makes it very versatile.
Yeah,
very
super versatile.
I think it's important to recognize with this that you get a lot of value with this guitar. You mentioned that it's not real expensive, but the fact that we're getting full-on JBs and 59s, we have a locking tunematic, Tone Pros bridge, we've got Grover tuners, a really beautiful top. You're getting a lot for your dollar with this instrument.
Absolutely, a lot of guitar for the money. And again, it's something I don't know if any kind of guitar manufacturer could have actually achieved in the 70s when this is first, you know, released. It's a great update on a classic.
Absolutely. Next up on our list, we have the first of the pedals we'll be checking out today. We have the RC Booster V2 from Exotic. And Don, you had a chance to sit down with this pedal.
Yeah, man, great pedal, really is. I love the fact that it's a clean boost, but it also has gain stages on it as well.
Right, and having that EQ built in gives you a lot of different tonal shaping options.
Sure, yeah, and 2 gain stages.
Let's check out the video.
The RCB is a dynamic, responsive boost pedal that adds up to 20 dB of transparent, clean boost, really fattens up your tone. There's a separate gain and volume control, and each of them act a little bit differently. The gain actually gives you a little more grit, and the volume just gives you a little more push. On version 2, there's actually a second gain stage. That gain stage is foot switchable, and it's also controlled by the little knob in the center. There's a 2-band EQ, you've got a treble and a bass control, and they're both really responsive and really dynamic as well, and add a lot of flexibility to the sound. So with all this switching and all this control, you can dial in exactly what you want. Right now I'm using the RCB to boost a clean amp that's right on the edge of breaking up. I've got a Mesa Boogie 525 Express Plus, and I'm playing a Fender Stratocaster. So here it is with the RCB disengaged. And here's with stage 1. So you can see that it's hitting the amp pretty hard and giving it a pretty good boost, but it's not really changing the character of the amp. And also I've still got the same dynamic range. I mean, I turned my guitar down at the end and it cleaned right up. And here it is turning on the second gain stage. The RCB is true bypass, so when you switch it off, it's completely out of the signal chain. It can run on a 9-volt battery, or I'm using a 9-volt AC adapter. And if you want even more headroom, you can use an 18-volt adapter. The RCB is really versatile, super useful. I mean, you can use it as a clean boost. You can use it to push a slightly broken up amp. You can use it to make up for like long cable runs, like if you've got, a lot of effects and you need a buffer or a super long signal cable. Another great way to use the RCB is to use it to boost a gain pedal or a dirt pedal. In this case, I'm using a Wampler Tumnus, and I'm going to use that for the outro. Man, thanks for checking out the Exotic RCB with me. Mitch, the one thing I forgot to mention is how good looking this pedal is.
It really is. With that chrome finish, it really jumps off a pedal board.
It's hot.
Yeah, it does.
It's just a hot looking pedal.
Well, and the white against the chrome too, you can really see where your settings are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on a dark stage, you're going to show right up.
Sure.
Let me ask you, over the years, Premier Guitars actually had the good fortune of reviewing a number of exotic pedals, and they always seem to be insisting on quality. This one, as a pro, how touch sensitive is it? You got the quality level that's already inherent in exotic pedals, but the sensitivity, the way it responds to your touch, how'd you rank it?
Man, a 10 out of 10, that's for sure. This thing is super touch responsive. I mean, because you know how a Strat can be, for lack of a better word, kind of anemic when you turn the volume down. Man, with this thing, it stays really snappy, really consistent, really big sounding, but it cleans up.
What I liked in the video is that when you engage that in front of the Tumnus, you weren't getting a real flabby kind of a tone. It wasn't pushing too hard, and it has a nice shape to its own tonality that drives another pedal well.
Yeah, it's not fizzy or flabby, either one, or like honky in the mids or anything. It's just really well balanced.
Right.
Works well with both single coil as well as humbucker equipped guitars?
Sure does.
Terrific. Well, I gotta say, it seems like a very worthy new entrant in the exotic line. Again, these guys have insisted on doing pro quality, gear of all types, and this looks like a winner.
Yeah, right in there for sure.
I think my other favorite feature of this pedal is that you really have two voices in one, so you're not using up double the real estate on your pedal board. Really a nice feature to have those two sounds in one unit.
Yeah, it sure is.
Next up, I had a chance to go into my studio with the Mini Rock Rec from Rivera. Now, the Mini Rock Rec is a load box and a cabinet emulator that allows you to record directly into a DAW or to send your signal straight into a mixer on stage without having to have a speaker cabinet connected. Check this out. Today we're checking out the Mini Rock Rec from Rivera, a load box and cabinet emulator that serves a variety of purposes for guitar players. The Mini Rock Rec allows you to take the speaker output from your amplifier, route it into the Mini Rock Rec, and then send that either directly into a mixing console or into your DAW for recording. You could also use it into a power amplifier to set up a wet-dry-wet rig. My signal path today is a Fender Custom Shop Strat into a Rivera Knucklehead Tray amplifier. The speaker out from the amplifier is going into our Mini Rock Rec. I have no speaker cabinet connected at all. The Mini Rock Rec is serving as a load box, and it's also providing a direct output that's feeding into my Antelope Audio Zen Tour audio interface. The Zen Tour is connected to my MacBook Pro, and I'm recording into PreSonus Studio One. The Mini Rock Rec is set up so that you can plug in a 4 ohm, 8 ohm, or 16 ohm amplifier, and it'll handle up to 300 watts of power, so you can use it for either guitar or bass. You could run SVT into this with no problem. We have two outputs, an XLR output, which I'm using to feed into my audio interface. We've also got a balanced line output that can be sent to another source if you want to route it to another recorder, or if you're recording in our case, for example, we could send it into our cameras if we wanted to. And then we have a line output that doesn't have any speaker emulation on it, so you could route that into another amplifier. We also have a headphone output on the front panel. On the back panel, we have ground lift switches in case there are any hums that might develop. We also have a switch on the back panel that allows us to choose whether or not we're connecting a speaker cabinet or not. Now with the tube amplifier, you always have to have a load connected. The Mini Rock Rec serves as that load, or you can turn the load off when you're routing to an external speaker. You just have to be sure you have that switch set in the proper position. So let's check out how this works. The Mini Rock Rec has 6 different cabinet voicings labeled A through F, and you can choose among those. I'm set to C right now. We can turn that voicing off and just listen to the direct output from the amplifier. That's not a great sound because we don't have a speaker coloring our signal. We're just getting the direct out from the amplifier into our recorder. When we engage the voicing switch, we turn on those 6 internal voices and we can select among those to choose the one that we like the best. So let's go to setting A and listen to that. We can turn to B, C, D, E, and F. We also have a phase switch that allows us to align signals if we're also recording with a microphone at the same time as we're using the Mini Rock Rec. The final switch turns the headphone output on and off. We have a level control for setting the amount of output that's going from the Mini Rock Rec into our audio interface or mixing console. And that's all there is to it. The Mini Rock Rec is a very simple box. Just connect your amplifier, connect the output into your recorder or mixer, and choose the voicing you want. Let's go back to setting C. Now we can make changes on our amplifier and adjust the tone from there. So for example, we could go to the clean channel. We can adjust the tone controls, the gain, switch back to our dirty channel, turn the gain way up, scoop out the mids. You get the idea. The Mini Rock Rec is basically serving as our speaker coloration. We can adjust it from here, but we still have total control from the front panel of our amp. Now, as I mentioned, this is a very useful device to have. You could take this on stage, you could still monitor through your speaker cabinet on stage, but be sending a direct signal out to the sound man without having to have a microphone on your cabinet. That way you have no bleed. It's a much cleaner signal. You can also use the Mini Rock Rec in the studio the way I'm using it here for silent recording. Basically, I'm routing straight into my monitors and I'm hearing things through there without having to have a speaker connected or a microphone placed. It's great if you're working in an apartment or if you can't turn up an amplifier at home. The Mini Rock Rec is also great for setting up wet-dry-wet rigs. Connect your amplifier, route the speaker output into your normal cabinet for your dry signal in the center, then take either the line out or the emulated output, route it into a power amp or another pair of guitar amplifiers with effects to create your wet signals. It's an easy way to set up a wet-dry-wet rig if your amplifier doesn't have a line output or an effects loop. I've really been having a blast playing with the Mini Rock Rec. It sounds great and it's so easy to work with. It makes recording and working live on stage so simple. I highly recommend you check it out. So guys, what'd you think? Did you think it emulated a cabinet well?
Man, absolutely. It really sounds like 6 different speaker cabinets mic'd up, ready to go without all the hassle.
Mm-hmm. I like the fact that as you're going through A through F of the various types of speaker cabs there, each one sounds great, but you've got enough of a tonal variance, you've got that oomph, that type of visceral girth that you really want to get out of a speaker cabinet.
Mm-hmm. Right. They don't label them like open back to 4x12 or whatever, but you can kind of hear that it starts with more of an open back sound on A and dials up to a thicker,
I kind of like that. It forces you to say what sounds best and what feels best rather than dialing in something that you have a preconceived notion is what you're looking for. You actually rely on your ears.
Right, absolutely. You know, this thing also can handle pretty much any amplifier. The knucklehead tray that I was playing is a 120 watt amp.
Wow.
And I didn't have it wound all the way up, but I was pushing it hard, and it, no problem at all, doesn't even get warm.
Wow, that's pretty amazing, man. And I mean, it's labeled 150 watts input on the back, but you said it'll handle up to 300?
Yeah, the 150 watts is going to be an RMS rating, which is kind of an average rating, which means it'll handle peaks up to about 300 watts. So I mentioned the SVT, which is the big bass amplifier, the big monster behemoth, and it'll handle that perfectly fine.
At Premier Guitar, we're big on solutions. We're looking for problems to be solved quickly and easily. Would you say that in the studio, this solves a lot of problems for you right out of the gate as an engineer?
It makes it so easy in the studio. You just plug in and you're ready to go. I mean, there's no messing around with microphones, any of that gear that you have to record. Now, of course, it's great to record with a microphone, and this works very well in conjunction with a mic amp because you can blend the two signals together. And Don, I know we talked about that you've actually done that live.
Oh yeah, I've done that a lot live because what you get live is the immediacy of the attack from a direct sound, and it's easier to push it up in the mix without bringing up so much of the kind of air and girth and stuff that you get with a microphone.
Right, and all that bleed.
Exactly, and the bleed, yeah, more importantly.
Right. And beyond the studio use and big stage use, this is obviously great for somebody in an apartment, or if you have family that you don't want to be bothering with your 120-watt guitar amplifier at 3 in the morning when you get a great idea for a song. So being able just to plug in and get right to recording is really awesome.
Right, and use your amp. That's the more important thing. You can use any amp with it. It's your sound, your amp.
So it is a true amplifier sound. You're getting the sound of tubes if you're using a tube amplifier with it.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't say, and again, Rivera amps are known for their quality level and their durability. This thing is built like a tank.
Yeah, it's nice and solid, no doubt about it.
Carries on the Rivera tradition very nicely.
I definitely could see adding one of these to my rig.
Yeah.
Having that option available both for live and for recording is just too good to pass up.
Yeah, really is.
Now let's take a detour from all the electric guitar gear we've been checking out and move into the acoustic guitar world. I had a chance to sit down with a Composite Acoustics GX series guitar, which is made entirely from carbon fiber. A unique instrument. It really sounds great. Like all composite acoustic guitars, the GX series is constructed primarily from carbon fiber. Anywhere you'd have wood on an ordinary acoustic guitar, you have carbon fiber in this guitar. The entire body is constructed in one piece, and this makes it extremely resonant. Carbon fiber just in and of itself is an extremely resonant material, but when you have a single piece guitar like this, it really rings, really resonates. Even the nut and the bridge are made from carbon fiber, as are all the braces under the top. Because composite acoustic guitars are made from carbon fiber, they're extremely rugged, and even more important, they're extremely stable. This means that you virtually will never have to adjust the neck relief on this guitar. With a wood guitar, the wood swells and shrinks depending on the amount of humidity in the air, the amount of water that's in the wood. With carbon fiber, we don't have any issues with that, so it's extremely stable. This makes composite acoustic guitars great for travel. As you go from one climate to another, the humidity will change, but the guitar will remain consistent. Another advantage to that super strong carbon fiber construction is that we can have a heelless neck joint. The heel is totally cut away, so it's very easy to get your hand all the way up to the highest fret. We have 18-to-1 tuners. They're extremely smooth tuners and very accurate. We also have onboard electronics. The GX Grand Auditorium features a Prefix Plus T from Fishman. This includes a pickup as well as an electronics package that has a tuner, a notch filter, and a 4-band EQ. Here's what the pickup sounds like straight into our camera with the EQ all set flat. We can use the onboard notch filter to control any feedback that might happen on stage if you're using live monitors. We have a bass control. We have a treble control. And we also have a brilliance control that adjusts the amount of sheen on the very top end of the guitar. Finally, we have a sweepable mid-range control. It's labeled Contour here on our electronics. This is an extremely versatile electronics package that allows you to totally shape the tone of the guitar that you're feeding into your PA system or into a direct box when you're recording. The frets on the GX guitar are stainless steel. Now this gives us several advantages. First of all, they're extremely smooth to play on. They're very slick feeling as you play if you bend strings, and just for playing on the fingerboard in general, they feel great. But stainless steel is also very durable. You'll get virtually no wear no matter how long you play on this or how heavy a strings you're playing. The GX is also a very playable guitar. We have a shallow C shape on the neck. This is very comfortable for you to wrap your hand around even if you're playing with your thumb over the neck. The stainless steel frets are dressed using a Plex system. Plex is a computer-guided system that can go in and very accurately set up and dress the frets. If you're looking for a guitar that's highly playable with a comfortable neck, stainless steel frets, and that Plex Pro setup, one that's extremely resonant, the carbon fiber in the GX series composite acoustics guitar really rings. This is a grand auditorium size guitar, which means it has a slightly smaller body, but still full bottom end, rich mid-range, and great articulation on top. It's a really punchy guitar that's nice and loud in the room.
Wow, man, I can't believe how comfortable this guitar is. I mean, this is amazing. The feel, the contours, the whole deal, man. And with the grand auditorium size, it's perfect for finger picking, perfect for strumming.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And it's nice and light, isn't it?
It sure is.
It really is a featherweight guitar, despite the fact that it puts out a nice, full, big sound. And I think you're right about something else, too, and I really didn't talk about it in the video, but this is a great-looking guitar.
Yeah, it really is. It really is a real stunner on stage, too, man.
Hey, you're a handsome-looking man, but that is a handsome-looking guitar, my friend. I got to ask you, you've played gigs everywhere from Baton Rouge and steamy climates to Tucson, Arizona. A guitar like this that's so weather-resistant, how much easier would that have made your life when you're touring?
Oh my gosh, it would have been amazing because there would be days where I would pull my guitar out of the truck and it would just, the neck would be slightly shifted. I'm playing something up high and it's like, oh, I'm fretting out. Okay, well, where's the wrench? And I mean, with a guitar like this, don't even think about it.
It's a tech's dream. Basically, low maintenance. You can go ahead and take it anywhere and it won't react.
Zero maintenance. I mean, stainless steel frets, even, for crying out loud. You will never have to do anything to this guitar except play it, change strings.
And I gotta say, the plecking, great added value to this. I mean, right out of the box, it's got to play like a dream.
Oh yeah, the action is incredible on this, and no buzzes, just rings nice and clear.
Right.
Nice and clear. And getting back to the stability of it, even if you're not on the road, I mean, here in Indiana, as you know, every spring, every fall, you adjust the necks on your guitar, so that's one less thing you have to do with this instrument.
Yeah, it sure is. You don't have to worry about keeping it humidified. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Right.
The EQ and the flexibility there. Again, as an engineer, as a gigging guy, how important is it to the value package?
I think it's tremendously important. It gives you so much tonal shaping capability, but having that notch filter to be able to just dial out feedback when you're on stage. And the thing that really impressed me is how dynamic and capable that sweepable mid-range is. You can really shape the sound with that.
Yeah, you sure can. You can dial it in and get any sound you need, sit anywhere in the mix you need it to sit.
Yeah, if you need it to sound like a bigger guitar, you can increase the bass and set the lower mids. If you want it to cut through more, maybe cut some bass and bring out some highs. So it really is versatile from that standpoint.
It's an interesting blend. I mean, obviously, it's a cutting-edge guitar. It takes advantage of all modern technology, plecking, stainless steel, all these features that guitars have grown to become accustomed to. But it still, at least to my eye, has a sort of classic, sort of traditional appeal.
Yeah, with those enhancements. For example, that cutaway. Don, flip that over and show us that cutaway.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can get your hand all the way up in there. There is nothing to impede you playing high in the neck.
Except my lack of ability, but...
Oh, there's always that, right?
Yeah, it's not going to play it for you, John. Sorry.
That's a crazy cool feature.
I think if there's any hesitation from a player who thinks a guitar has to be wood, you definitely want to check one of these out because that carbon fiber construction, the one-piece body, really results in a great sounding acoustic guitar.
It sure does. Really resonant, really rings well.
So let's get back to something electric. Don, you had a chance to check out a power supply. Now you think that a power supply, I mean, okay, it's a power supply, but pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's one of those items that you don't think about it until you need it. And then when you need it, it's like, ooh.
You really need it.
Right. I've been on stage myself, and you've actually seen it. Been playing in a club, and one of my pedals will just freak out because the power supply isn't doing an adequate job.
Yeah.
The one that you checked out will definitely handle it.
Yeah, definitely.
We're checking out the True Tone One Spot Pro CS12.
The One Spot Pro CS12 is an isolated power supply for all of your pedals. Now, how this works is you've got 12 different isolated outputs. And you can see it's a variety of voltages, it's a variety of milliamp ratings. It can power just about any rig you need. In fact, it's powering this entire pedal board. Modern pedal boards have a lot of different power requirements, and powering your pedals properly is essential to getting a good sound. Not to mention the fact that improperly powering your pedals can actually damage them. So that's one of the great things about the One Spot Pro CS12 is that it has 12 individual taps on it, and each one of these taps is like an individual power supply. Most pedals do run off of 9 volts, and you can see that there are 9 9-volt taps on the CS12. However, you've got 4 that are sectioned off for higher milliamps. The higher milliamp versions are great for powering digital pedals like Strymon or Eventide. 4 of the 9-volt taps can be switched to 12 volts, and this 5th 9-volt tap can be switched to a variable voltage setting. The voltage can vary between 4 volts and 9 volts, and it's on a little knob right here on the front that you can set. And what that's really good for is like a vintage fuzz. Some vintage fuzzes just sound better with a half-dead battery, so you just kind of fine-tune your spot and find it to where it sounds good to your ear. To handle your super high current needs, you've got 2 18-volt taps and actually a 9-volt AC tap at 800 milliamps. The CS12 is really easy to integrate into your rig. It comes with all the cables you need to hook it up, and they're different lengths and color-coded to the length, so you know exactly what's going where. It comes with the IEC cable that you need to plug it in, and it also comes with mounting brackets, so it'll mount right underneath the pedal train. The One Spot Pro CS12 uses a switching power supply, and that means you can take it anywhere in the world, and it doesn't matter what the input voltage is, it will accept it. It's also lightweight and very reliable, and True Tone went a long way to perfect the switching power supply for audio quality. Once you get the rest of your rig together, you know, guitar, amp, pedals, cables, it's really important to have the right power supply. And the One Spot Pro CS12 has a ton of power handling capability. It also has a lot of options to power just about any pedal need you have. So there you have it, a quick look at the True Tone One Spot Pro CS12.
So Don, I have to say, you made a power supply exciting for me.
Wow, thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
I mean, all joking aside, I mean, this is serious business we're talking about here. It's a big part of your rig.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, again, you get the rest of your rig together and you spend so much time worrying about your picks and strings and your tubes and all that other stuff, and you just think, oh, I just got to get something to power this up. No, power is really important.
And I got to say, the guys at True Tone have really thought this through. A product like this doesn't just happen on its own.
Right.
They've considered what real-world guitarists need to go ahead and do when they're gigging, or when they're taking the rig into a studio. At Premier Guitar, I happen to see a lot of what our readers are using in their own pedal boards, and it's a pretty wide variety of pedals on any given pedal board. You need a power supply that accommodate all the Strymons, all of the other pedals.
Sure.
They've really nailed it with this.
Yeah, they have. And the fact that it's isolated is just so important, because that's like, you know, each pedal has its own power supply, and that keeps the ground loops out, that keeps all the noise out, and isolation is key.
As a player, Ian, you know, I look at it this way. I've spent all this money on these pedals.
Yeah.
I love these pedals. I want them to sound as good as they possibly can. And a power supply that isn't up to snuff, it can sort of subvert that. This again, it enables you to go ahead and get the best sound possible out of this investment that you've made elsewhere in your pedal board.
Yep, a utilitarian solution, that's for sure.
Power to the people.
So since we're talking about pedals, Don, you had a chance to sit down with the JDX Direct Drive, which is a direct box for pedals with a little extra.
Yeah, it is. It's basically an amp in a direct box that you can put at the end of your pedal board, so you can like play without an amp completely if you want to.
It's a real problem solver.
Yeah, it sure is.
It's a solution to a lot of different issues.
With a little je ne sais quoi.
JDX Direct Drive is an amp simulator and a direct box in one box. The circuitry inside is designed to sound like a guitar amp, so you can take your guitar, plug it into the input, and come directly out of the balanced output and go into a DAW or a mixing console. The switches on this side of the pedal labeled tone voicing, they control the sound of the amp simulator. You can see you've got combo, stack, and JDX 4x12. You've also got a bright switch. The Direct Drive is voiced to be a clean amp, so you can use it in conjunction with your favorite distortion pedal, or any pedal actually. You've noticed I've used quite a variety of pedals. The combo setting is sort of an American clean combo with an open back cabinet. The stack sound is more of a larger low end kind of sound, and the JDX 4x12 has a pronounced mid. For inputs and outputs, you've got your input here, which is designed to be a guitar level input. The next jack is labeled through, and it's an output that's completely unaffected by the amp circuitry. Now the way you'd use it is if you also wanted to run a guitar amp. So say you had your pedals in front of the direct drive, and then you also wanted to run to a guitar amp and a direct signal at the same time, that's what the through is for. There's a separate tuner out, which will allow you to plug in a tuner and have it running all the time. There is another output, and this is affected by the amp and cabinet simulator circuitry. What it's really good for is if you want to run into a processor or anything that accepts a 1/4 inch. And of course, the main out is balanced, it's XLR. And you can see on the balanced out, you've got a ground lift, and you also have a polarity switch. Where the polarity switch is really going to come in handy is if you are using the through, because you're going to have two signals and you want to make sure that they're in phase with each other. Depending on how you have your amp mic'd, you may actually need to flip the phase. So let's give the direct drive a listen here. I'm playing a PRS 513, and you can see I'm playing through a variety of pedals. I've got a JHS buffer, and the main reason I'm using that is because I actually have quite a bit of cable, and all my pedals are true bypass, so I'm going to need a little buffer just to keep the signal clean. I'm using a radial tone bone tri-mode, a TC flashback, and a Strymon Flint. And the way I'm capturing the audio is I'm using a Focusrite Sapphire Pro 40, and I'm going directly into Pro Tools, just using Pro Tools as a capture system, no funny effects or anything. So here's the sound of the JDX, completely dry. I've got it on combo and bright. All right, let's kick in a little reverb. And now a little delay. Here's that same sound with the present switch in the normal position. Okay, so now I've turned on the tone bone tri-mode, I've gone into the stack setting, and I've gone back to bright. So I've turned the delay off, and I want to go through all 3 amp modes. So we'll start with combo. So you can see you get plenty of EQ variety from just these 2 simple switches. So there you have it, a quick look at the JDX Direct Drive. Man, this thing is a real problem solver. I mean, anytime you need a silent solution for a guitar tone, you can just bring your pedal board and plug this thing in and you're good to go.
You know, if I closed my eyes and just listened to the track that you did, I'd swear you were playing through a real amp.
Yeah, it really is super convincing, man. It feels like an amp. It responds like an amp. I mean, you know, for all intents and purposes, it's a clean amp in a direct box.
You can go into with any of the stomp boxes that you love, go straight into this thing, and it handles it beautifully. And I gotta say, just holding this thing, this is built like a tank.
It is solid, isn't it?
You know, at Premier Guitar, we've been getting quite a bit of radial products over the years, and every single one of them is just built to take it. Absolutely, you know, trench warfare worthy, and this thing measures up totally. So would you say that this is an emergency solution, or is it an everyday something that you're going to be using on the gig? Or does it fulfill both purposes?
It does, really. I mean, it's multi-purpose because you just got to think of it as a direct box with a built-in amp simulator. I mean, that's exactly what it is. So, like, for instance, the way a bass player uses a direct box on stage, a lot of times you'll run the direct sound to the house, and then the amp will be on stage to monitor. And you can mic the amp and have that sound blended in as well. Now you've got that same option with guitar. Or if you just need to completely not have an amp at all, there you go.
Sounds like the kind of thing that would also put an engineer at ease when you go ahead and see something like this.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to have that as a second feed in the studio if you want to combine that with a microphone, or just use it as a direct sound, because it sounds certainly very nice. And really having it on your pedal board as a backup, I mean, I've had amps fail at gigs, and there is nothing worse because you're scrambling at that point. What do you do?
You don't want to be, as a pro, you don't want to be the guy who's basically leaving everybody else hanging because you don't have a solution right there on the spot.
Right, so why not have it on your board or have it in your gig bag and just be able to grab it and get back to playing?
And I got to say, a lot of these types of products, they don't necessarily get the kind of attention they deserve. They're not considered, you know, they don't have the sex appeal of some other products, but when you need it, you really need it. So hats off to the guys at Radial for this.
This is definitely something I'm going to put into my gig bag and just have around all the time.
A worthy candidate.
Definitely. So guys, I've got to introduce you to a really cool new guitar. Dave Friedman from Friedman Amplification and Grover Jackson, who's well known for making instruments going back to the 70s, an incredible guitar designer and builder, have teamed up and created an instrument called the Vintage T. Really an amazing guitar, plays great, sounds great. The one that I checked out had a pair of P90s in it, and it's an awesome guitar. is available in a variety of different configurations. The one we're checking out today has a pair of Friedman's classic 90 P90 style pickups in it, and this gives us a variety of different tones. Lots of top end bite, but a rich, thick mid-range and a chunky bottom end. This vintage T has a mahogany body. It has a maple neck with a rosewood fingerboard. We have separate volume and tone controls for each pickup, and those are equipped with orange drop capacitors, and we have a 3-position pickup selector switch. The vintage T is a collaboration between Dave Friedman, a well-known connoisseur of tone and also well known for his amplifier designs, and Grover Jackson, a well-respected guitar designer. They each bring their expertise to the picture, and the result is a great playing, great sounding guitar. One of the great things about the vintage T is it is a bolt-on neck design, which gives you all that spank in the tonality. Yet because it's a super tight joint and there's actually a metal pin that joins the neck and the body together, it's extremely stable. We get a very tight fit between the two pieces, and that gives us great sustain and great tone transfer. The neck on the vintage T has a comfortable C-shaped feel with just a bit of a V-shape to the back. And we've got large jumbo frets that make it very easy whether you're playing rhythm or you're doing big bends. The strings actually anchor at the back of the body. This increases our tone transfer into the wood and also increases the sustain. The guitar has a distressed nitrocellulose finish, and in fact there's no finish on the back of the neck. This gives it an extremely fast and sleek feel. Let's check out some of the sounds of the vintage T. I have a Wampler overdrive pedal in the signal path, and I'm running into a Friedman Buxom Betty amplifier. I'm using an Astro cable from the guitar to the pedal. Here's our bridge pickup straight into the amp with the overdrive bypassed. That's a really articulate tone. It has all that bite you'd expect from a P90, yet nice fat lower mid-range and chunky bottom end. When we go to the neck pickup, we get a sweet chiming tone. Combining the two pickups together gives us a bell-like top end and a nice clear mid-range. By adjusting the volume and rolling the tone controls back, we can get a nice jazz tone from this guitar. When we add some overdrive, the guitar really comes to life. All that snarl from the P90s gives us a ton of articulation and a really punchy sound. Here's our bridge pickup. By adding just a little bit of overdrive, we get a ton of sustain out of the vintage T. Here's our neck pickup with overdrive. When we combine the pickups together, we retain that bell-like top end we heard with the clean tone, comes right through with the overdrive, and we still have that nice clarity in the mid-range. If you're looking for a vintage style guitar with premium components, awesome construction, and incredible playability, along with a diverse range of tones, the Vintage T is a great choice. This version, equipped with the P90s, gives you all that snarl that you expect, all that top-end bite, yet it has a rich, thick tone as well. So here it is in person, guys. This is a Vintage T. Really an amazing instrument, and I got to tell you, what a pleasure playing it through that Buxom Betty amp. I mean, Dave Friedman just makes amazing amplifiers as well as guitars.
Yeah, he sure does, man. All about quality, that's a fact.
I'm jealous, man. You get to have all the fun.
I got to play all the cool guitars this time around, didn't I?
You did.
You did.
One of the things that's really striking about this is you've got both the personalities of the two men behind it, between Dave Friedman, Grover Jackson. This seems to be a perfect amalgam of what both of these guys bring to the table.
It's also a nice combination of vintage and modern. You know, you have the T-style body, you have the, the traditional maple neck with rosewood fingerboard, but those awesome sounding Friedman pickups, and then the modern appointments like that pin that holds the neck to the body really makes it stable.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get that much more tone transfer between the neck and the body, you're just going to get, it's going to be that much better sounding.
Right. Plus, I mean, we've all probably grabbed the neck of a bolt-on guitar and had it go crack, right?
Yeah,
well, that will never happen with this because it is locked in there solid.
Out of curiosity, mahogany body, but with traditional styled body. You like the feel? You like the snap?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, beyond the combination of Dave and Grover, it's also a combination of modern and vintage features and tones, really. Because we have the maple neck, the mahogany body, and that really kind of gives you the vibe of like a Melody Maker or even an LP Junior. That mahogany body with the P90s has a very distinctive tone to it, but it also is a very versatile instrument.
Yeah, it really is, and I love the strings all the way through the body as well. That's the Telecaster style appointment there.
Right, and as I mentioned earlier, I really love it when a guitar resonates against my body, when I can really feel it ringing, and this one definitely does that.
That mahogany body, but with the traditional style body shape, seems pretty versatile, really snappy, like the stylistic versatility.
Yeah, it has, the tonality of mahogany is to have that rich mid-range and a tight bottom end to it with a nice crispness on top without being too bright. And that's really what this delivers, but it's balanced by that maple neck and the rosewood fingerboard. So you get the brightness of the maple and then the warmth coming from the rosewood as well.
How many people do you think are going to go ahead and get turned on to this guitar? They may not be familiar with the Friedman name and amplification, and this is actually sort of their gateway point to learning more about what Dave's doing.
This is the kind of guitar that once a player gets his hands on it, gets his ears on it, really going to enjoy playing it in a lot of different styles. Because as you heard in the video, you can do snappy, almost chicken picking kind of things with it.
Sure.
With the neck P90, you can warm that up and make it a very convincing jazz sound. And it certainly has those crunchy rhythm tones and fat, blistering lead tones as well.
Well, I'm just glad to see that the Friedman name is going to be getting some new fans because of this.
And Dave and Grover have done a great job with this guitar. So let's wrap things up here at Guitars and Gear First Look with another pedal. We have the electro-harmonix Whaler Wah, and Don, you had a chance to play through this pedal.
Yeah, I did, man. Loved it. It's as simple as a wah pedal is. I mean, it's got to be just right, and they nailed it. Whaler is a killer wah from Electro-Harmonix. It's actually the sound of their crying tone wah, but it's with a traditional rack and pinion style mechanism. It's a great sounding wah. It's got a really vocal quality to it, and the throw is really smooth. The action is really smooth. And one of the best things about it is that it weighs 1.5 pounds. It is super lightweight, but it's really rugged. The Whaler couldn't be simpler. You've got an input and an output, and you've got a jack for a 9-volt adapter. You've also got an on-off switch, which is true bypass, and the option of a 9-volt battery. So let's check out the Whaler wah. Let's give it a listen. For the examples, I'm going to be playing a PRS 513 through a Blackstar Artist 15 amp, and we'll start with the clean channel, and I'll actually start with the Whaler bypass and then engage it. So now I'll switch to the dirty channel of the amp, and I'm going to kick in an EHX Soul Food for a little extra grit. So there you have it, kids. A quick look at the Whaler wah from Electro-Harmonix. Man, it's a great sounding unit. Thanks for checking it out with me.
You know, with something like a wah pedal, sometimes it's easy to overlook just how much expressiveness that can add to your rig. I mean, when you have a great player like yourself and a great guitar and amp, you add a wah pedal in there and it can take you to an entirely different place.
Yeah, it creates a completely different voice. It's almost like, you know, another level of expression for sure.
And this one's so vocal sounding. It's not shrill on top, doesn't get shrieky, really is vocal.
And if I can be vocal about one thing, I got to say for the folks at home, this thing is light. If you want to put it on a pedal board, you know, it's always nice to have something that's light. And again, this kind of sense of humor from the manufacturer to go ahead and have Mike Matthews, this founder of Electro-Harmonix, immortalized in the battery compartment. That's something that you don't find every day.
Flexing on the battery, giving it a good flex there.
Hey.
Power!
Yeah, but it is, you know, it feels solid though. You mentioned it's lightweight, but I don't feel like I'd have this on my board and I'd be replacing it. I mean, it feels very rugged.
Right. And it's still lightweight, but it's full size, so you don't have that, you know, trying to get your foot on it just right.
You and I were talking about the importance of having something where you really feel comfortable with the pivot point on this. And obviously something like this, it's basically like a good friend. You're familiar right out of the gate.
Right. Yeah, no learning curve, that's for sure.
So something we shouldn't overlook with this pedal is that it's actually a true bypass design.
Yeah, most wahs are buffered, and if you like the sound of the buffer that's in the wah, that's great, and if you don't, then, well, you know, you're kind of stuck with it. And pedal interaction is a huge thing, too.
Sure. Sometimes when you place a wah pedal in front of a vintage fuzz, you can have squealing, you can have weird interactions. So that true bypass can be a valuable feature to have in a wah
Plays
pedal.
nicely with other pedals. It incorporates a comfort factor that we've grown accustomed to with wah-wahs over the year. It's light, sounds great. That's a lot to recommend it.
Today we've looked at 9 incredible new products. Guys, thanks for sitting down with me today. John, a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for coming out from
Always
Premier
a
Guitar.
pleasure.
And Don, thank you for sharing your expertise and your awesome playing. And thank you for joining me for Guitars and Gear First Look. We've had a great time today. If you have questions about these 9 products or any other guitar-related products, call your Sweetwater sales engineer or visit sweetwater.com. I'm Mitch Gallagher.